feel that my body had betrayed me. I didn't really feel good about myself at all. Thankfully, I was training for the Disney Princess 10K, which was at the end of February, and that kind of gave my brain a place to go and something for me to focus on, so that I wasn't just always thinking about my miscarriage, even though a lot of the times I still was. In a lot of ways, training for the 10K helped me to reclaim my body, to get my body to do what I wanted it to do, and then crossing the finish line was such a victory for me. That really helped me to, like I said, it just helped me to feel like I regained my own confidence, like I regained ownership of my body, and it really helped me to reconcile and to kind of be friends with my body again, to forgive my body. In the months after my miscarriage, I still kind of feel, even now, that people are very careful around me. They're very cautious around me. I was very explicit with my family and told them not to walk on eggshells around me, not to treat me like a baby. And in some ways, I still feel that that's being done. And I don't think that it's even intentional. I think it's just something that people can't help. People want to be protective, and I think that that's just a way that's expressed. I don't think it's intentional, but I did notice that people are very careful with me now, and I do feel like I'm treated a little bit differently by the people who know I've had a miscarriage. My coping mechanisms, I guess the week and month after my coping mechanisms, I took a lot of baths. I cried a lot. I've always been a crier, but I cried and cried and cried, and that sounds really pitiful, but that was so helpful to me. It was really the only way I felt like I could just really get it out. And I was running. That was helpful to, when I felt up to it again, it was helpful for me to do something for myself every day, and usually that was running. That was a way to push myself physically and mentally, and that was a real coping mechanism for me. Another way that I dealt with the aftermath of my loss was I started a small miscarriage support group, kind of branched off from my Bible study group, and that really helped me to cope because it gave me a way to talk about what happened, and it gave me a group to talk about it to, and they were women who understood. And in some cases they were women that didn't get to grieve themselves, so it was healing for both of us, and that trauma bond was really, really strong in that group. After my miscarriage, I do feel different. I do feel like a different person. I feel, in some ways, I feel that I'm more serious, not that I take life more seriously in general, but just that in a lot of ways I feel like I'm like constantly fighting depression. I'm constantly like teetering on an edge and trying not to let myself fall over, if that makes sense. I feel that I'm more introspective now. I did find myself reacting in ways that I never expected, so not to say that I'm more bitter, but when the grief is really heavy at times, I do find myself to be a little bitter and a little petty, and I really hate that because that's just not the kind of person that I was before this happened. But I know that's a part of this process and a part of dealing with the grief, but it's still been hard for me because that doesn't feel like me. And it took a long time for me to feel like me again. In fact, there are a lot of days where I still don't feel like myself. But the important thing is I'm having more days now where I feel like myself, especially when compared to a few months ago. I did not have a good relationship with my body after my miscarriage. I gained a lot of weight because food was a source of comfort for me. I was working out a lot before I got pregnant and before my miscarriage, and at this point I was basically just running so that I would be ready for my 10K, and that was a good outlet for me, but I was counteracting it with eating, and I was mad. I was mad with my body. I was disappointed in her. I was frustrated with her. I couldn't forgive her. I just felt betrayed. I felt betrayed by my own body. My mental health has changed a lot. Kind of described before, I feel like I'm constantly teetering on the edge of depression. I feel like I'm always sitting right on the peak, and I can feel myself leaning towards depression and leaning away from it. Like any moment I'm gonna fall into the pit of depression. And when I feel that way, I just try to focus on things that make me happy. I try to practice a lot of self-care and a lot of positive self-talk. It doesn't always work. Sometimes I fall right over into it. I do feel like it changed my relationship with my family and my friends. I would definitely not say that I have become an introvert. I'm definitely an extrovert still, but I did feel myself feeling exhausted by being around other people. And that is definitely different. That changed my relationship with others. It also changed my relationship with my husband, but oddly enough, I feel that it really strengthened our relationship in the week of my miscarriage and the weeks following my miscarriage. My husband and I had just been through such deep loss together, and just being really in the trenches of that felt very intimate, and that was really the closest I had ever felt to him. I think because I felt like he was all I had in those moments. It really strengthened our relationship, and that I still see that. I still feel that within our relationship.